Record. So, I'm just going to say hi and welcome to Heart with Eva. And I have a very, very special guest here today. Her name is Leigh.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just almost caved in with joy when I heard your name, and I was like, yeah, that's the best name ever. And it actually is your name. Welcome to this show, by the way. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so excited. And I get that reaction about my name all the time. Everyone always thinks it's a fake name. They're like, or a nickname or something. They're like, oh, that can't be your. No, it's the mother given name.
Yeah, and I think it's so perfect for you because I really doesn't know who you are because I haven't seen you a lot, and we got in touch on a other Facebook page. We got connected there. So then I started to look into your work, what you've been up to, and what you are presenting out there, and so on. And when I heard you're doing that meditation, it was like heaven league, heavenly league. There was this divine essence in your voice. You have such a healing voice.
Mm.
Have you been told that before?
Once with my mentor, when I was
Mhm.
doing my mediumship, we did like a 7 weeks one-on-one type of thing. And she would always tell me there's a lot of power here.
Yes.
So even for the last 7 months, I've been doing a lot of throat chakra healing because like I don't feel it. So like I don't feel confident with it all the time. So I'm like learning. But that's one of I feel like I send energy with it. That's
Yeah.
kind of,
That's your
yeah.
tool, your one of your tools, because you are doing a lot of things. So if I doesn't know heaven, I know that my viewers who will listen to my pages here doesn't know much about you. So I'm going to read from Facebook,
Okay.
actually, what you have written about yourself. And is that you are a spiritual coach, an energy worker using tarot, meditation, astrology, and embodiment to pull things from our subconscious realms into our consciousness, breaking up blocks that have kept us from tuning into our own heavenly energy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that begin?
Oh, so I did a really rough stint from 18 to 21, trying to find my place in the world, trying to figure things out. And I ran into a lot of drug addiction, a lot of just toxic relationships, a lot of toxic people, just a lot of blah, a lot of shadow work. So when I got clean when I was 21, I like took it and like ran with it because it was the only good thing I had going on in my life. When you get clean, they always talk about finding like a higher power. So I just started learning like everything, like Wicca, pagan, like even I read some like Judas or what was it? It was Judeo-Christian or something like that. I was reading that type of stuff. I was reading Buddhism, Hinduism, like just learning all these different types of religion. And in my exploration, I think I was about 2.5 years clean, and I had like a gaggle of like sponsees of women that I would teach. Um, so I left the NA community and left the hometown that I lived in. I felt like I was expanding, and when I left, I lost all my students, the people that I was guiding. So I decided that it was something that I really needed in my life. It was something that really called to me, and found tarot on that path. And then literally spirit has been, or source, or whatever you want to call it, has just been calling me like every once in a while, being like, hey, you're going to do this next. And hey, by the way, now start this. And hey, so it's just kind of this like unfolding thing where I just started to follow what felt good to me. And that
Yeah.
was like teaching other people how to do this work. Um, because shadow work, honestly, because that's what this is. Like, if we get down to the nitty gritty, like the subconscious realms and pulling them into consciousness, it's all shadow work. And I feel very comfortable in the dark water. Like, I feel very comfortable with people's crap. Like, they bring me like some of the stories I hear, I'm like, wow, like I don't think I could have even survived what you survived.
Yeah.
But I'm like almost able to sit there in this, and I get told this a lot, but it's this non-judgmental zone where it's like you can bring absolutely anything to my table and I'm not going to collapse, I'm not going to break down, like bring it. I'm like come bring me the dark juiciness, come on.
When people start talking, I usually get pictures in my hand, and when you start talking that, and also that I read on your Facebook page that sometimes you have been in the darkness to be the light for others. You didn't write that, but that is how I interpret it, and to make it short. That is the picture that comes through again. This void of darkness and this pillar of light, and in the middle there. So yeah, you are diving into to massive energy work.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I'm adding in right now. I'm actually going through my Reiki 1 and 2, because I've been reading tarot now for the last year and a half. Because tarot is a great way to get people to break through their ego. Like it's a great little tool. It doesn't go as deep as I would like sometimes because the conscious mind kind of gets in the way. So the energy work is the next thing. And I already do it, I guess, kind of naturally. People tell me, especially with my meditations, like I feel like I'm just a big, like pulling people's energy and giving it back to Mama Earth and doing all these weird things. But I want to get my Reiki as my next kind of thing, because I'll be sitting at a table and I'll be reading someone's cards and they'd be like, you're much more than a tarot reader. And I'm like, quit, like stop, you guys. Like when source or spirit talks through another human being, it sometimes gives me like the goosebumps, chills type of like, whoo, okay, got it.
That's the best way to get information through, is to hear it from other people. So that's a perfect source when it comes from other people. That's the best thing. But if I should go back, because I like the way you see, when you start talking, you have so much to give out there. So you are using a lot of tools in the same context when you are talking. So just let's try to pull a bit here, because
Okay, yeah.
oh, first I just have to say, I love the work you have done, diving in, doing that learning process in such a short time. You see, I'm twice your age and I've been reading all my life, more or less. So, yeah, power to you, girl. Um, so I want to know more about the things that you're actually doing, because I do know when you have those skills that you have, you can't go in and do one thing with a person, because you are bringing so much in there, and you are a healer too. So naturally, you are trying to heal and help with every tool that you have in your ensemble, right? So you started off with tarot reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you have your sort of clairvoyance ready or already when you started with that, or was it something that automatically came when you were doing these tarot readings?
So my clairvoyancy, so I'm more clairaudient. That's like my main one that I use a lot. I can tap into the other ones. It's just I have to shut my mind down a lot more than the clairaudience. But my best friend, so my dark past, all the drugs and all the blah. So my best friend out of that, he didn't get clean and I got clean. Well, he passed away in 2017. And I went on a massive search after that of like what happens when you die. Like my best
Mm.
friend, I want to know where he's at. And he would come and talk to me. Like in my head, like his voice, just with these powerful phrases of like, like I passed over, so now I can show you. Or like I passed over, so follow me. And like just all these like little weird, and he would like send me to different little weird places. He's the reason I moved up here. So I kind of had that going on already. So when I started reading cards, that was one of the main things that I got. And then I also get a sense of people's auras. was the next thing that came about. So I like to do a grounding and a cleanse and, like do a protection, get me and that client in that space so I can do other stuff too, see how willing they are. And then I get a read of their chakras. Like first off, that's the first thing that happens is I reflect them. So a lot of with the tarot reading, I found out I'm a reflector a lot of the time. So if something's going on with me, it's normally going on with them. And I'll get the visions now that I've worked with the mediumship a lot and the different clairs, but I can get visions. There was this one time I had a vision of this plant and I'm like talking to the woman. I was like, I see a snake plant. And so I'm like trying to break it down as like the divine feminine, and how she can be spiky at times. She's like, no, I just bought a snake plant yesterday. And I'm like, oh, well, good job. Spirit likes that you bought that plant. Like,
But I like that. Trees are so connected to each other. So, yeah, well, that's another topic. Yep.
yeah.
Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, but so it just kind of opened up in that way. And I had my first, so I do one-on-one client or mentorship. I have one person right now that's in it. We're doing a lot of shadow work. But my very first mentor that came to me, she was like, I want to learn everything like esoteric, just everything. And I'm like, okay. She's like, teach me. I was like, there's so much, girlfriend. There is so much. But sure, like we'll sit down. What's the first thing you want to learn? And she wanted to learn about deities. So that was like me transferring my energy. So I was learning how to do that and heal at the same time, because let's face it, you dive into esoteric, you're healing. You have to heal in order to like grab onto some of this knowledge. You have to heal. So seeing her light up.
The more you get into those light moments where you are searching for information and go inside, then you are actually pushing up this shadow work, as you were mentioned earlier. So yeah, you really need to work through your own stuff. Otherwise, you will get stuck by yourself or stuck self. Yeah, yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So we were doing a lot of that, like the mixture of shadow work and then the learning of like reclaiming her power. And now she reads for a psychic group or whatever. So she'll read for people, and then she does wired wrap jewelry. She started her own business, like all of these things. I started watching her flower and I was like, holy crap, like this is like, that's where my heart is. Like, I was like, I want to see people do that more. So I'm really trying to transition into like a mentorship, like one-on-one clients where we mix the tarot and the astrology and the embodiment, like all the little pieces. Because right now I feel like with just tarot and just that 30-minute, like almost healing session kind of with them, I feel like it's like not enough to really get people to pick up the shadow and start working with it. Like they'll see it, they'll become aware. I plant seeds for sure. But I want to push them a little bit more.
So you would rather work with the mentorship more than workshops with a lot of people?
Oh, I love the workshops. Don't get me wrong. Those, love teaching. I just want to teach, I guess. Because I just see a lot with the tarot, at least with when people come to me, they want like career readings or love readings or this readings. And I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. Like, I'm like, you can go find someone that is meant for that. Because I believe that every person that uses these different healing modalities, they are meant for a certain purpose, like a certain vibration. And I was like, but mine are, we're going to pull up some shit. Like, I'm sorry, but we are, because I want you to actually get the beneficial part of the healing. Like, I want you to get the thread.
That is so good to hear. That is so good to hear, because I think it is a safe step, when people started to do a lot of this spiritual work, they usually want to follow into other people's footsteps, my mentor is doing this, or I know that she's successful in doing this, and somehow they're following a path that may not always be their own path, but you are surely listening into what's working for you and how to bring out the best in other people. And I love that you have come to that, senses, but I don't mean senses, but that you have come to that knowledge by yourself, and that is how you should work. I think it's excellent. really
Mm.
excellent. And I can see that when I tapped into your videos when you are doing these meditations, you are by your voice picking down people into a very comfortable energy zone, and there are a lot of things going on there. And when you are talking, there are a lot of information just coming out through your voice and in your sessions, and I can totally see how you would act in a private session when you go in and in with your mentorship. Uh, that is, it's almost like sitting here and praising you, but in some way I am. I think you're amazing.
I think you're amazing though too. Like I
Yeah,
really do. I love how the universe got us together. Like because I've been watching every time I get on it, and we're in different time zones. So
yeah,
I sometimes miss your podcast, but I do like to watch them a lot. I learn a lot. One of your guests on there like blew my mind. I'll have to look back at which one it was, but I was like, yeah, get it, girl. Like I love seeing that. I love seeing other people that are doing the work.
yeah. And
Do
you learn so much about it too, and you learn how the other people thinking. Yeah, and it's it's almost like sitting with a tarot deck, but you are doing it live. You know, looking for signs and everything. But yeah, that's really really interesting. So we are going to go back to you here, and let's see what you have on your Facebook, because they are such a small video bits that you are putting up there that are so deep. Can I say so? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Um,
they are not so long, like almost half a minute maximum, and you are saying quite a lot in that. It's creating a reflection somehow. I need to go within myself and really read what is the was it. Oh no, I can't talk any. um well, that's the way it is. When I look at your videos, sometimes it causes a flow of reflections.
yeah.
Yeah. So you have to go deeper inside yourself and really listen into what you are saying. So is that something that you have picked up for someone else, or is it just a natural flow from who you are? Because
Um,
you said, I just need to say that you said that you are um, and that shows also when you are writing in your text that you had been in a struggle with low self-confidence or trusting in yourself, and
mhm.
that is nothing that gives that away when I'm watching your videos. So you have been working a lot. So yeah.
That's because you see the seventh video out of the like six that I record or the eight that I recorded. But no, no, that is something. I guess so. For me, being from like all this crazy stuff in my childhood,
Mm,
because like let's just say crazy childhood, like my parents would tell you all about it, like whatever. So that kind of I want to say like harmed my intuition. It harmed my
mm,
confidence. It harmed all these different things because I thought I had poor judgment. And so growing through that, I had to really like I had to go into my belief system, rip out some beliefs, and start living from a more authentic place, from a more I want to say like dedicated or subscribed to my own values and my own beliefs, but you have to figure out what those are first. So this was like this whole journey of me like figuring out, okay, what do I believe, what do I value, what am I going to subscribe to, like what do I actually feel like inside my body. And that's why those meditations I do, I like will guide you into your body, and then I guide you into each region of your body, and I don't tell you how you're going to feel. I don't tell you what you're supposed to feel. I'm just asking the questions of what's it feel like? Where's the tension? What is your relationship to whatever chakra we're in? So, like throat chakra, expression. What is your relationship to expression? Those mirror questions, like you're talking about, because that's what helped me figure out my values, my beliefs, in order for me to gain some actual stable foundation or confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all say fake it till you make it, like, oh, just keep, blah blah blah. But until you have like a stable, solid foundation of, yeah, I am a good person, and yes, this is how I believe, and that is okay if you don't believe that, because I have this solid foundation to sit upon. I am comfortable in my own skin. Until you have that, you're not going to have that confidence. You're also not going to be able to tap in to your intuition. This is something I teach in all of my workshops. That's why they're broken up into 3 days. And the second day is the day we actually touch the tarot. The first day is us like breaking down some shit, because you have to get rid of some of these beliefs that are blocking your intuition, or
Mm-hmm.
you're just connected to your ego and you're letting that run the show the whole time. So I like to do the reflector thing. That is like, I think something that I've been called to, because every time I get like this, and sometimes my spirit guides get really mad at me because they're like, you were supposed to tell her very directly. And I'm like, I hate doing that. Like, I like them to come to their own conclusion on something. Like, I'll give you all the little seeds, then you water them, you figure it out, because I hate being like, this is what you should do. Because I'm not perfect. What if that's a projection from me? I'm like, no, that's icky. Like, I don't like it. I hate going to a reading when they're like, you're supposed to break up with your boyfriend, quit your job, and move to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really now? So why hasn't spirit told me this once? Like, this is weird. Don't tell me how to live my life. And then I get very like defensive. So another thing that I talk about a lot is to get into the subconscious realms, we have to get around the ego.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way around the ego is if we don't poke at it. Like, we have to kind of slip into it. We have to guide ourselves down. I like tarot cards because I never say them. Like, I never point at them and be like, you are feeling blah, blah, blah. You are feeling. Sometimes on my video ones, I will, just because it's weird talking to someone. Like, I'll be like, you guys may be feeling this. But I like to talk about the card. Like, I'll be like, this is the Princess of Cups. She, is very emotional. She, blah, blah, blah. So then it's a story that they can relate to, instead of feeling like I'm pointing, jabbing. Yeah, it kind of opens it up a little bit. So that's like my thing. I love to be a reflector. I love it. Like, and so I struggled a long time with being like, really, what does this offer people? Like, I'm just asking them what they could do this themselves, and it's honestly, I find myself like looking for a reflector for me in some of my hardest moments. I'm like, oh shit, that's why I was called to this work, because it's important, and I have to have one too,
Yeah, we all do. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we get stuck within our own way of thinking, and we need someone to hold a mirror and mirror it back to us, giving us our own reflection. Oh, now that we're talking, we're bringing in so much tools too, and you're like having 5 or 6 education stuffs in there. So I was like, wonder if I'm going to sign up for him. Need it. No, but I love it that you are bringing those things in, because you are special in what you are doing, and you are also very dynamic when you are talking. So even though you think you are not telling people, you are actually telling them to start look at themselves and go deep inside and bring up that garbage laying down that they won't be needing in the future. So how do you see your future?
Oh man.
Oh,
So for the future, right now I love where I live. I live in Colorado, so I'm probably going to stay here. Love the mountains, love everything, but I want to travel for sure more. Right now I'm going to different retreats, like yoga retreats and holistic fairs and things like that. And I get to do some of this healing work like in other states. So I've been doing that, and I would love to branch that out more. And then I'd also like to host my own retreat here in Colorado, like in the mountains. Like, I already found a little cute town that I want to go to. It has mineral springs and all these nice stuff. But I want to bring people into this like safe place, because it's so funny. I go out to all these yoga retreats and I meet these wonderful people, and they're like I'm afraid to be my authentic self here. And I don't know why they tell me this, but every single person that I meet, they're like, I just can't be wild here. I can't be free here. I feel like people are going to judge me. Like, and I'm like, okay, what is this call right now? I'm being called to something. And I feel like I want to do like a wild retreat almost, where it's like, bring your wild, authentic self, small group of people at a time. And we kind of do this, I don't know, just wilding out thing or figuring things out. I know a lot of other healers in the area, so I wanted to kind of get like a community. Because it's funny, I live in such a place that you think that this would be common, you know, like a community of people doing yoga, holistic healing, all this stuff. I can't find it here. And when I do find it here, it's like, there's things going on that just don't fit. Like I went to one circle and they were like, leave your shit at the door. And I was like, no, that's your power. I'm not gonna do that. Like, so I want to create that. Like I'm feeling really called. Also I want to write a book eventually. Who knows? Just about my life. Like, but we'll see how that, when that happens, when that comes out of me. It's funny because I get creative spurts and then I can't close them. But then when I want the creative spurts, I have a hard time opening up the valve sometimes. So it just I kind of try and flow with it.
Yeah, I totally know what you're meaning. God, I don't know how many books I have started to write, and they are still like 2 or 3 pages in, and the concept just, paused. I
Yes.
do know what to write about. It's not that. It's not just just don't get inspiration to do it, to finish it. So,
Make it sound good, make it sound pretty. Like, because there's a
mhm,
difference when you're just writing something to write it versus when you're like, ooh, and if I do this and
yeah.
this, like, you know, there's such a difference.
It's probably the ego, because you wanted to present it in a certain way, to please someone else. That's the thing we were talking about. And that brings
Mhm.
me back to what you said. Um, don't give your power away. So I have
Mm-hmm.
sensed that is a big thing around you, that you really you want to stand in your own power, and you want everybody else who's listening to stand in their own power. And that seems to be a very significant thing for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And my mentorship is actually called Gaining Your Power Back. I'm making all the graphics for it right now,
Okay.
which because of that creative flow, it's hard to get it. But yeah, I want to be able to give people's power back, because the thing is we tend to like cut off all these dark parts of ourselves, like our anger, our frustrations, our distaste with things. And we like cut that off. We're like, okay, I want to be a good person, so good people don't get angry, good people don't blah blah blah, good people whatever. But it's like, we have to reclaim some of that anger, that fire, that frustration, all this crap, because that is like it's like the shadow. I got this during one of my plant medicine like sessions or rituals, but it was like, so your light is your fortress, it's in the middle, right? And then your shadow is the moat, like around you.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you learn how to utilize your shadow, bring it into you, bring it in, bring it around the light, or bring it wherever it needs to go. Because sometimes that we pull in the shadow and we're like, holy crap, this is so light. This is part of my like psychic gifts, or my soul's contract or whatever. Like, why was this hiding out there?
Mhm.
Because someone told us to put it out there.
Mhm.
But some of that darker stuff, that anger, that frustration, all that crap, like that could be used to help build kind of a defense or a guide almost to the things that we're not supposed to be getting into. There's a big difference though between like being frustrated and angry because this isn't a situation you're supposed to be putting yourself into, and being angry and frustrated and uncomfortable because you're being put in a situation to grow. So there is a difference between the two, and that's why a lot of self-reflection helps you figure that out. Like, I always like to say, is it draining you of energy or filling you with fire? Because if it's draining you of energy, probably shouldn't be there. If it's filling you with fire, like, we might need to utilize that element. We might need to figure out, like, is it purifying, or is it like, giving you motivation, giving you energy? Because if it's giving you energy, like, let's roll with it. If it's purifying, let's sit down, let it heal, like let it move through.
Mhm.
So big difference there. And sometimes I get confused. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if this is, and it's back to when I need that reflector myself.
Yeah. Could
You
it
know?
be that you are intuitive? You are very intuitive. So when you are speaking, you are getting new inputs for new
Mm.
thoughts in every sentence. So you start talking and you are finding that uh, sliding to give another explanation in line with the other explanation. And I find it so interesting. I'm doing that myself, you see. Uh, I thought I was unique and say, oh, don't over explain things. And I'm like, well, you have to know. You
Yeah,
have
there's like two avenues, and then you have to go
yeah.
like, I never want to just say something and then someone grab onto it and be like, this is the thing. And I'm like, no, but there was like 4 other things that went with that thing that you have
Mhm.
to remember first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
do.
so, so those people who say that it's black and white, no, 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 no. There's a lot of shades in between, not just
Yeah,
black and white. So, yeah,
yeah.
well, that's pretty amazing. I like setting boundaries. I think that is something that people are not doing anymore. And even if they are setting boundaries, they are so easily willing to give up them. So
Mhm.
they are not honoring themselves by holding on to their own belief systems. So I think it's a very, very important topic to talk about, and I like that you have that in your conversation so much. The
Mhm.
need to be setting boundaries and sticking to that, and this giving power away. I don't know why. Why do you think people are so willing to give power away?
Mm.
Their own power.
I know that there's a lot of codependency within situation. It's also, so this is another thing too, because I'm like, oh, this and this and this.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm doing it right now. But like definitely codependency, because I do feel like I meet a lot of people pleasers. But what people pleasers don't understand is that they think that they're powerless because they're giving away their power, right? But they give away their power as a form of control.
Mm.
So it's like, if I make you docile, if I do what you want, if I blah, 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 then you're not going to act the way that I don't want you to act. You know, you're going to act like this and we're going to have a great night, whatever. But then they make themselves feel powerless. They're not actually living in their authentic purpose or their authentic truth. And they're not like walking their actual path. It's like we're all cogs in this machine almost. And if we're not doing our part of the machine, then we don't see the purpose. Like people also don't get our healing energy. They don't get our wisdom. They don't get our knowledge. They don't get to encounter us because we're not in our power. We're not in our on our path.
Mm.
Um, and I think sometimes it's easier too for a lot of people to try and control, manipulate by giving power away rather than stepping into power and like just taking things head on. That's scary. That's scary to a lot of people to hold that much power. Um, and I think that's kind of why it's a process too of uncovering. Like, I don't just like rip things off and I'm like, here's all your power. Like, you are completely in control of your own reality all of the time. You know, like that's whew, that's a lot for a person that feels powerless. That's a lot. So it's like this slow open up to how powerful you actually are and start to see yourself when you're giving away power. So that is one big thing that I think a lot of people get discouraged by, is that they're like, ah, I keep giving away my power and I can't do it. And I'm just like this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, it's a slow process, a very slow process. Like
Mm.
normally it's within one relationship where you're like, I can sit in my full power and be comfortable with that other human. And that starts to trickle out and do other relationships. Cause I think it's just very scary. I think it's very scary.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. So I can see that what you are talking about will be a great foundation for this retreat you were talking about, uh,
Mhm.
free one. So because feelings and emotions and relationships, the relations with people, they are so connected to each other, and
Mhm.
I can feel sometimes, that you mentioned it earlier in our conversation here, that people doesn't want to acknowledge their emotions, and
Mhm.
like especially spiritual workers, we don't want to be known as grungy or aggressive or something. But believe me, we have temper. Everybody has their own temper when the camera is off, and that's natural because we are humans. We are humans. The thing is not to get stuck and controlled by it, but the
Mhm.
emotions is a part of us being here to transform, and to try to peel it off and not being a person within your own emotions. Um, that is also a false security,
Mhm.
because you are not standing in your own power when you are doing that. It's such a importance to actually be in your power with every emotion that you have. So
Mhm.
it's not wrong to have a emotion showing. What is wrong is when I'm using it to hurt someone. But I can also turn it into something productive, and be doing something creative with it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's amazing.
Alchemize, that's what the word I like to use a lot, is alchemize the emotion. Like I just posted a video about like one
Yeah.
of my intuitive practices, and it's just, yeah, it's creating a playlist, naming it whatever you want for your intention, hitting shuffle, and then just letting yourself be guided to where you're feeling things. And before that video, you can tell in the very beginning, my eyes are all puffy red. I'd been crying for like 30 minutes on my mat because, I was releasing a lot of stuff. I was moving through it. We're in fall. We're in the big release, we're getting close to Halloween, to that veil closing. Like, it's just like ancestors are talking to me, everything's coming through. So I'm bawling my eyes out hysterically, but it's like, I need to like, let the emotion come up, deal with it, move through it so that we can get to the other side and keep moving. Cause it's like, when you're not paying attention to your emotions, it's just going to keep coming back.
Mm,
Like, it's just going to be stored somewhere in your body, and it will keep coming back over and over again until you're ready to
mm.
move through it. There's no ignoring it and going around. There's none of that. Like, emotions are here. So, and sometimes I like how you talk about how, like, as spiritual leaders, a lot of the time we don't like to share that side because it's like, I don't want to seem grungy. I don't want to seem helpless, is always my thing. Like, I don't want to seem, like I can't help myself, so I can't help you. But I'm finding the more authentic that I show up, the more value people get out of
Yeah.
it. Because then it's like they relate, like I relate. And it's something I listened to a podcast the other day. She was talking about how powerful do you feel like in your femininity, and she was like, the most powerful people are the most humble, because they realize that in order to connect to everyone else, we can't put ourselves up here.
No.
We're all, because we're all right here.
Yeah.
We're all right here. And as soon as we do this, we are saying that we are not human, that we do not have emotions, that we are this all, if like, whether we mean to or not. But it's just like this disconnect. And like, that's when you get the people that will follow your every word and become like you, like we were talking about earlier, like follow in your footsteps, your path. And that just hurts them more.
Mm-hmm. It does. And we are all spiritual beings, and we are here in a human form. So of course we are not high above anyone else, and it's so important to acknowledge that feeling. I have been going through a lot of those things. I know that when I started getting in a friendship with a lot of people there, and there were some spiritual community leaders who, they were we were placing them upon pedestals,
Mhm.
like she's saying that, and I was like, yeah, well, we took a cup of tea after the session, we were talking, it was her life she was telling us about. It wasn't a a channeling given to us. It was a conversation over a cup of coffee, and it's so easy to see how things can get misused, so to
Mm.
speak. And it has nothing to do with them. It's my perception of the reality that I am in right now, which also brings back that we have a tremendous responsibility for what we are saying.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you can be very, very authentic and still speaking the truth. And I prefer to be me with my flaws and be happy and do my part here. And I think that is you in a nutshell too. No one is going to change you. I'm sure about that. So yeah, well, the alchemized, I saw that too on your Facebook side. So if we are diving in, because we are now that you are doing tarot and you are a yoga instructor, so you are a medium too.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a bunch of things. Um, the mediumship, I took a mentorship. Oh God, it probably would have been last year around this time. And I've done a couple sessions since then. It was something I was a little scared to tap into. Not gonna lie, a little nervous about it. I'm a very like, I love psychology, I love science, I love all this stuff. So when I was like dipping into the more like spiritual energy like aspects, I was like, I'm really out of my comfort zone right now, guys. Like I'm like, whoo. And I was like training with a girl that believes in like deities and angels and stuff. So she started me opening me up to that realm, and I was like, I don't know about this, guys. Like I don't know, but I'm so silly sometimes. Like I'm like, I'll totally hear voices in my head from my dead friend, but like angels, nah, bro. Like, no, but she was opening me up to this. And the very first one I ever did, oh my God, he had a heart attack. And so he let me feel it in my shoulder. And I felt like I was literally having a physical heart attack because he really wanted me to know like how he had passed. Like I was asking him questions, all these things. And I was like, how did you pass? And he showed me. And that's like one of the questions you're supposed to ask when you start in your mediumship. And I was like, oh, no. Like I ain't doing that again. Like, no. So I'm very picky about who I do mediumship for and like who I'm contacting. I just did one last week for a woman, and we opened it up, and I think her mom knew that it would freak me out if she like came and took over my body. So she came and she took over her daughter's. So I didn't hear anything, but her daughter was hearing her mom like crystal clear. And then I was just getting the visions. So I was just telling her what I was envisioning, what was coming through there. So I'm very picky about it. Still kind of freaks me out sometimes, but I'm able to set up a container for it. I think it's because I do work with spirit on a regular basis, and I do have a team that I talk to. So I think they're pretty good about going and finding the people.
Mm.
But man, I never want to feel that heart attack. Like,
No.
yeah, I was like, whoa, dude, whoa, that's no. I'm good. Thanks. So you even have to have boundaries with mediumship and with your spirits and with your spirit team as well, because it's like, don't want to feel anything. I'm good on that. Like, and I do remember my mentor telling me that, like, you do have to have some boundaries with all that. But it's totally fun. It's fun to tap into.
It could be pretty scary when you feel it in your body. And that can, yeah, I know. Also, when I was out in a barn with a couple of friends, we were checking this barn out because there was some kind of spooky things there, they said. And it was like someone actually shook me, and it turns out that a
Oh,
woman had been hanged in that barn. Um, so
oh,
that was not funny to feel, but it went away pretty quickly. But I was thinking like, nah. There are so many other people who are doing this. this
you're like, I'm
I can
good,
do something
thanks.
else. Yeah, well, that could be scary. Well, not my cup of tea. I wouldn't have guessed that you were a medium, actually, to be honest. I thought you were more of a channeler. It feels like you are channeling from partly from your higher self, of course, but you are more tapping into to the heavenly realms, and that has nothing to do with your name. So I just assumed that you are more of a channeler, intuitive channeler. Um,
that's more of my gift. That's the gift I like to do, that I like to bring in. If people ask me, I'm just kind of, people just ask me to do shit and I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Like, like if I'm asked a couple times to do something or try something, I will. But channeling is more of my thing. And I do it so much that I piss people off. They're like, could you turn that off right now? I need heaven. And I'm like, okay,
Well, that
fine,
is a part of you. It is a part of you because you have been tapping in during this conversation too. Sometimes I noticed that you are switching into and let another flow of energy talk through you. So,
fine.
or putting, yeah, well, yeah, pushing you, or how I should say that, but it's still you. It's still you who's talking. And I like that. I think that is more the new way that you are working, the younger population that are growing up now. we
Mm.
we have been taught to be, stick to one thing and do a lot of stuff very ceremonially. So yeah, that's interesting.
I like that you point that out. Yeah, that I like talk in a more feminine way than in a more masculine, like do way. I've never been told that before, but I like that because I kind of get in my head about it. Like I'm like, man, I can't tell a freaking story to save my life. I could not stay on topic. Like, psh, man, but I like that it's more feminine because I think people follow me still. I think we're like I loop people around and take them with me, but. That's nice. I like it.
Oh yeah, you are pulling people in. I find it very hard to believe that people are that hear your voice can't hear your voice without being, pulled into your energy field, and that is what the magic is happening. So you don't have to be actually working for being giving out your energy because you are. Um,
Oh my God, that makes so much more sense in my life. Because I'm always like, I always feel depleted. Like, I spend a lot of time alone. Like, when we were talking boundaries, I think I have some of the strongest boundaries. And it took me so long to learn to love them. I used to be like, why can't you just be around people all the time? Why can't you just, what's wrong with you? We're taught that we should always just want to be socializing or whatever. But that makes so much sense because literally during a conversation, I give away a lot of the energy and then I have to go reach. I've always wondered where is my leaky part and that it's in my words. Hmm. That's interesting. I just learned something about myself today. I love that.
yeah, we are learning a lot about you. And let's find out some more because there are something more here. Let's see, spiritual coach. We have been going through that. Meditation and astrology. Astrology and meditation. I love meditation.
Me too.
Ah, it's so nice to be in those energies. So, yeah, tell me what's happening. I know what happens when I'm going into meditation. I'm the old school, I like to have it certain ways. And
Mm-hmm.
when you are going in, the things, the videos that you have been showing on your page, uh, it happens a lot. So, is it a concept that you're starting up with before you're going in, or are you just letting the intuitive side get to work?
So I like to do I'm doing moon circles right now. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to show people kind of how to flow with the cycles because that's something that helped me a lot was like, grab onto natural cycles and just flow with it. Like see if it changes your life. Um so a little bit of it is like a little bit of research about the astrology of the moon. So either new or full. So I go in with that. Like this one was a full moon in Aries. So I was already going with like the balance between taking care of self and others, and also that fire energy, that that frustration, the irritation, all that. Like trying a big release of tension, pretty much was what I was feeling. But after I get in there, there's certain things that I always do. And so it's always like grounding and cleansing, always. And I always like to breathe in our energy, breathe out the tension. So we're calling all of our energy in from all these different places, that we've given it away. So definitely calling all our power back, cleanse, ground. And then we just work through the chakras. We work through the body. Sometimes I can feel some of their areas that we need to work through a little bit more. A lot of it's in the throat, I get from a lot of people. So we're doing a lot of like embodiment practices too during meditation, and I just kind of let those come up. I also let people move how they feel called to move, or I try and encourage them to, because again, they are their own healers in meditation. Like really honestly, it works best when they're engaged in their healing process. So if they're like figuring it out, being like, okay, what feels better right here in that solar plexus or in the neck or whatever, then they're actually more engaged with it. Pretty much what I'm doing though is guiding them into their subconscious, past the ego, past everything, into that energetic field, that energetic alignment. I try and get them there first. And
I
then
love when
after,
you do that.
huh?
I love when you do that.
Get
Oh.
us all like,
Mm.
whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yes, I do that every day too. That was like my, like, I feel like all of us should all check in with our chakras every day, but that's a whole nother thing. But I get us all online, and then I bring us into like a space. It's like kind of like a void up here, but I call in either higher self, any angels, deities, gods, whatever you believe in, to kind of come in and like have your human self meet with higher divinity, and they have a conversation. And I just kind of open that up to like whatever happens or whatever comes through. So like images could come through, sounds could come through, colors could come through, whatever. Just don't judge it. Just grab onto it and take it back with you, because that's going to start to unfold. Like, so it's like planting seeds into the subconscious is pretty much what we're doing, and then letting those kind of bloom the way that they need to for you. So a lot of the time I get images, like weird images that I can never make sense of at that moment. And then as that week starts to unfold, I start to get it. Like I saw fire daisy, I think last time. And I've been really called to work with the fire element over the last couple of days. Like, you know, we had a bonfire last night. I've been around fire so many different times over the week. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But I'm being called to this fire inside.
And you wear
Um,
red today.
huh?
You
Yeah,
wear
I know,
red today. Yeah.
right? You got to follow up on it. You got to keep good. Like that's the one thing with my meditations though. If you don't like take it and go with it, it's you're going to be like, okay, I don't know where that really ended. Like I don't know how that happened. So you kind of have to keep going with it. And I tell people the simplest crap. Like so simple. Like you felt a lot of tightness in your throat, eat a lot of blueberries, you know, like the whole week, or always wear blue, or think about like just simple things, because your conscious mind, your logical mind doesn't need, it's really not doing anything, honestly. Like I love it to death. I love being able to talk to people and being able to use my mind. I love games, puzzles, like all sorts of shit. But when it comes to the healing, that thing gets in the way so much. Like
Why?
don't about it.
Why? Why does it get in the way?
Because it's that ego. It's like so when we really believe in something, when we're like, this is going to heal me, it does. It almost always does. If we're like 100% in, our logical mind can be like, well, this doesn't do anything. Or, you know, that one scientific article you read that one time about, you know, blah, blah, blah isn't good for you. Well, it's not good for you. Or, you know, like it retains a bunch of information
Mm.
or knowledge. It doesn't even know if it's true knowledge. You have to rewrite that script. So it really gets in the way in the very beginning. And even sometimes when you're trying new things or trying different healing modalities, like this fucker needs to just shh, and then you can do the healing work. Because it's so funny, because people will be like, well, that didn't do anything for me. And I was like, well, did you tell it yourself in your mind that it's not going to do anything? And they're like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, that's a wall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like,
Thanks for explaining that. That was the best explanation I ever heard in a long time. I love
good.
it. I love it. So that is actually bringing up subconscious to consciousness. So yeah, we have been working through that list. So let's talk about, because today is the October 26th, and you have a class today, a Zoom class today, starting today.
Oh, next month. And it's
Next
yeah,
month.
in 1 month. Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was today. Yeah, well, but please talk about that one.
Oh, I actually do have something later today, but I was like, wait, the virtual class though. So I started doing in-person classes here at a local place, and I was teaching tarot. I was doing all sorts of stuff there, and I wanted to offer it online. So I have a big community. A lot of people do not live here. So I was like, I want to be able to teach people how to read tarot from a more intuitive standpoint. So this isn't like read through the book. Like, yes, you're gonna have to do that homework because that's honestly how you learn things.
Yeah.
But this is like, these are the steps or the tools that you can pretty much pick up any deck, start to read it, start to learn how to do the
Mhm.
work that I do essentially. The first day is going to be this breakdown of how to raise up into higher consciousness. So get bypass the ego, pretty much set up a sacred space, because all those parts are so freaking important. I feel like, to make you feel safe if you're doing self exploration, or if you're doing it with another person, to make them feel safe, because the safer we feel, the more comfortable we feel, the more open we can be. So how to connect to higher source. Then the second day is going to be the tarot. So we're going to break it all down, break down the major, the minor, different little tips and tricks to learn about the cards, all the different elements, numerology, symbolism, all that kind of stuff. It's really fun. And then the last day will be about the seven chakras and how to cleanse our energy. Because that's another thing that I feel like a lot of us don't do a lot of work in. Like, we'll clean ourselves, we'll clean our house, we'll do all these things, but do we ever think about like the energy body and cleaning that out, you know? And that's very important, especially when you're connecting or doing this work, so you don't want to take their shit with you.
Mm.
I did in the beginning so many times. I don't want people to make the same mistakes that I did, because there was a while that I didn't think that I could read tarot, because I was just taking home everyone's crap. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I would take on their personalities and I'd be like, why am I paranoid? I'm not a paranoid person. I was like, what is going on? And I'd be like, oh yeah, that person I read last night was dealing with paranoia. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just kind of that teaching, the 3 days of how to do tarot. You can buy each episode or class, that's what I mean, each class separately, or you can buy them as a group. But I feel like anyone that wants to read tarot for other people should buy all 3 classes. But yeah, it was just something that I felt like everyone needs to know, whether you're going to read tarot or not. I also feel like it helps you tap into your intuition, because for me, tarot healed my intuition, because I started doing it every day. I would tap into my intuition. So I'd pull the cards. I'd be like, what does this say to me? And then I go journal about it. Then I go look in the book, journal about that. And that's how I learned. It was just this intuitive pull every day.
Mm.
But when you start using that muscle, because it's a muscle, it starts like trickling out into your life in like all these weird different ways. So like, you'll be put in a situation that normally would make you like freeze up, or like, I don't know what to do or whatever. And you've been practicing your intuition. So your intuition starts tapping in, and you start like connecting to that, and it starts coming up from the depths, because I feel like a lot of us shove our intuition into our shadow, or we silence it because, society said that this is fine, I'm going to do it this way. And your fucking intuition's like, I hate working a 9 to 5. I hate it here. Like, but we're like, shh, be quiet, be quiet. So this is a way to like give it a megaphone again, to really tap into it, to give yourself ritual and time and practice. I think tarot is a really good way to do that, just because, I mean, it's a deck that you can physically touch. It's things that you can visually see, because we're so in the physical world at first, until we really start expanding. So I think it's a good beginner's tool, honestly. I really do.
It is a very good tool. I
Mhm.
agree. I'm so blown away about your talk. I just, I love you. I really do. I love you. So,
That's awesome.
just to get back, you said a very important thing, and I got something else in my mind. You said something about uh, what can it be? Like, the importance of cleansing the
Mm.
work, the energy work, so
Mhm.
your energy field is stable and functional for yourself, and that is also a usually a beginner's, not beginners, we all do it sometimes, even I forget to cleanse myself, and
Yeah,
you. So yeah, everybody does it, but even though you are cleansing yourself, because this brought another bit of our conversation back to when you're alchemizing, when you're standing there, you said your eyes were blurry, and you know, you had all these emotions earlier during the conversation. So those two lightens up, so there is obviously something there, and it brings me into collective. Do you respond to the collective mood, so to speak? So because you are feeling a lot, you are, even though you are giving a lot, you're also feeling a lot. But you can dissolve it, of course, but you are very sensitive. So yeah, how does it affect you? Can you say that you are, yeah.
Um, I wouldn't say that I am awesome at being in the collective. Honestly, sometimes I do get overwhelmed, a little overstimulated. Big crowds can sometimes be a little bit hard for me. I kind of have to like talk myself into it, and I have to be in the right state to deal with it as well. That's something that I've definitely learned, is that don't push myself into a big crowd of people if I'm feeling some type of way, because I don't want to deal. Like I don't. Um, well, all their energy all over me. I'm like, ugh. But
I
so
was
when I do
more
go,
think I was actually more thinking about, you know, the emotions that you can get through a day. You know, it's just pouring up within yourself. Sometimes I can feel like it's not only my own emotions that are pouring up, it's somehow connected to the community around me, even though I'm not present in the community. Do you know what I'm going with this?
yeah, okay, yeah, like the collective vibe, kind of like the
Hmm.
collective day.
Global
Um,
vibe, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're picking up energy from like social media, from, just looking at stuff like that. Reading other people's books. I've noticed I can kind of like, you could read someone's book and get a sense of who they are, and like, okay, cool. So it's like we're picking up energy all the time from all these different standpoints. So of course we would like feel into that like collective energy. Like, like I can always tell when my neighbor thinks that I'm driving too fast, like, because I can just tell, I can feel it.
Yeah.
I'm like, so the way that I do a lot of energy cleanses, like we were talking about, like a lot, like I'm very intentional with a lot of the things I do. So like taking a shower, it's like I'm intentionally washing everything away. I sage a lot. I do a lot of incense work. Sometimes I have to come home and take a shower a couple times that day, just because I'm feeling, everyone's crap on me. Um, but for the most part, the way that I try and deal with that in like a healthy way, is when I show up in the world, I try and be the sage instead of like adapting to the energy. Like, and I just posted something about that the other day, but it's like this, I don't know, like show up for the energy. I'm here. I see it for a reason. Not everyone sees it and feels it. So, like maybe I'm able to actually kind of shift it or do something about it a little bit, because no one else is really tapping into it or feeling it. And this is something that I've been working on probably just over the last year. Because last year I lived all by myself in a little apartment by myself. And it was so lovely. And I was just, off in my own little world all the time. And then I got offered to move into a home with two roommates. It's a band house. So they're in a band. There's a lot of people that come over in and out all the time. It's not like crazy, crazy or anything like that. But they have a 7-piece band. There's 7 of them. So that is something I think I was called to learn over the last year, was how to keep my energy here and not let all of their energy affect me. Because yes, we're like all tapped in collectively, but we also kind of have to stay in our lane a
Mm.
little bit, deal with the energy that's coming up for us.
Back
because
to
I
the
can use other
boundaries.
people as a distraction.
Mhm. Back to the boundaries, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you're back to
yeah.
that. Oh. Well, that's amazing. So, do you want to promote something more? Because I know that you're having some events coming up here.
Yeah, so tonight actually we are doing the tarot for releasing.
Hmm.
Um, that will be, I think that's tonight.
Yeah.
Watch. Yeah, it is today. Okay, cool. Tarot for releasing. So that is for, or tarot for intention. I'm my bad. That is for the new moon in Scorpio that's coming up in a week.
Yeah.
So I like to do those live, and then we take them and make them YouTube videos, and then they get posted on the YouTube. So that's just pretty much a pick a deck. It helps with intention setting, all of that good stuff. We talked about the virtual. Um, yeah, that's kind of all I have going on right now before I launch that mentorship. I'm about to launch that, and that's going to be a one-on-one, probably 8 to 12 week container. And it's going to be ripping away your belief system and implementing a new belief system. So every week we'll go over a spiritual principle. Like the first week's honesty. So we're working with the throat chakra, which I know seems a little bit backwards, but I believe that we have to get honest before we can do any shadow work. Like, so that's my first pillar. So what we do is we dive into honesty. There's an embodiment practice about the throat chakra and about honesty, how to really embody that into who you are. And then there's a shadow work worksheet. And so you'll fill out that worksheet, and it asks you all these questions about, how do you feel about honesty? How honest are you? Like all these different things. And then it asks you to set up your desires at the end of every worksheet. So what would an honest, authentic life look like to you? So you get to kind of build that, and then we'll sit down in session and we'll do maybe some tarot around it. We'll kind of feel around what needs to be done, but some energy work. But we'll work with that honesty, and we'll try and pull out all of that crap. And at the very end, we do a meditation where we put all the good crap in. You learn some affirmations for that week, and you get a schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is my mentorship. The schedule is really cool because it has I made it myself. I'm getting so artsy fartsy, creative. I'm I want to make everything all pretty. So you get this pretty little day planner, and it has what to do first thing in the morning, and then morning practices to try, yoga or a cup of cacao or whatever. And then it asks you questions. So how are you feeling that day? What are you grateful for? What are you manifesting? Kind of type of thing. So it kind of gets you into a structure or a ritual of asking yourself every day and every night, asking yourself, how do I feel? What's going on inside? But it's pretty much just a whole restructure of a belief system, because I believe that's we need to do that work in order for the rest to kind of unfold. Yeah. Oh no. Hello?
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, I needed to took off. My voice is giving up here.
Oh,
I'm loving this mentorship, actually. Just give me a moment here.
oh, you're fine. Take your time.
Sorry! Sorry. I'm just loving what you are doing with this mentorship.
Yay.
And I'm actually looking forward to look into it, what it will contain.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, that's good. So I think we are going to close down now.
Yeah.
But I'm so sorry. But I really do want to thank you, Heaven, for being here. And you have such a lovely energy.
Oh,
And you are full of girl power and feminine power, not girl power, feminine power. So I'm looking forward to follow you. And I hope that you will come back and talk more about the things you are doing.
oh yeah, anytime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. That's good. So I'm going to say thank you so much for being here. And thank you to everyone who is listening into this
Yeah.
later on. And bear with my voice. That's life. That's the way it is. So, yeah. Well, thank you for being here, and keep a watch on Heaven's pages, and step into her power and energies on her pages, and be a part of her community. So bless you all, and thank you so much for being here. Bye.
Bye.